I think America agrees that you are weird.
America doesn't agree on anything. I think we can all get with that.
All right, that's fair.
Good morning. You're watching Fox and Friends First on this Wednesday morning. I'm Rob Schmidt.
And I'm Jillian Mealy. We are in for Heather Childers. Thanks so much for starting your day with us. And we begin with the battle at the border. A new wave of migrants arrive in Tijuana, Mexico, just hours after President Trump vows an immediate response to what he considers a disgraceful ruling on his asylum order.
Ray Bogan joins us live from Washington as we learn of a potential soldier shift on the border. Hey, Ray.
Rob and Jillian, good morning. Every day at the San Ysidro Port of Entry in San Francisco, which is the largest land port in the world, hundreds of migrants line up for their chance at an asylum hearing. Now, some of them are families and individuals seeking safety or better economic opportunity, but Secretary of Homeland Security Kirstjen Nielsen says some of them could be dangerous.
Some continue to report that the caravan is made up of mostly women and children. The reality is that the majority of the caravan that we see is made up of single adult males or teenage males.
Affirmed this summer, Congress has given the president broad authority to limit or even stop the entry of aliens into the country. Now, Judge Tegar's ruling is a temporary restraining order, and both sides are due back in court December 19th. Rob and Jillian?
All right, Ray Bogan, live in Washington. Thank you. And breaking overnight, Republican Representative Mia Love loses her House seat. Democrat Ben McAdams defeating the two-term Congresswoman by just 694 votes in a Utah race that took 2 weeks to settle. Love has not yet conceded. She was the first black Republican woman elected to Congress. Democrats will now hold a majority of at least 234 seats in the House. Sparks fly at the final debate ahead of runoff Senate election in Mississippi. Democrat Mike Espy calling out incumbent Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith after she was caught on video saying this. Republican Hyde-Smith apologizing for defending those remarks before Espy took aim.
This comment was twisted, and it was turned into a weapon to be used against me, a political weapon.
It's caused our state harm. It's given our state another black eye that we don't need.
President Trump is defending the Republican senator.
He made a statement which I know that she feels very badly about it, and it was just sort of said in jest, as she said, and she's a tremendous woman.
The Mississippi runoff election is next Tuesday. Nancy Pelosi gains key endorsements in her bid for House Speaker. Ohio Democrat Marcia Fudge foregoing a potential challenge and vowing to support Pelosi instead. This as former President Barack Obama offers another vote of confidence.
I think Nancy Pelosi, when the history is written, will go down as one of the most effective legislative leaders that this country's ever seen.
The former president calling Pelosi instrumental in advancing his political agenda. The show of support comes after 16 House Democrats publicly promised to oppose the California Congresswoman as House Speaker.
All right, President Trump officially answering Robert Mueller's questions about Russian election meddling in writing. It is a major milestone in the special counsel investigation that could soon reach its end. Leland Vittert is live in Washington with more on where the investigation goes from here. Hey, Leland.
Hey, Rob, good morning. It's really up to Robert Mueller, and as they say in Washington, those that know aren't talking about his intentions. But here are the possibilities of where Mueller could go from here. His team could review answers, ask for more information, review answers, prepare to disclose their final report, compare answers with other respondents. Last question, would they subpoena the president? Despite the White House's frustration, this probe will continue until it reaches a natural end or the acting attorney general puts the brakes on it. The president remains unchanged in his feelings.
They're all finished. The written answers are finished. The lawyers have them. The written answers to the witch hunt that's been going on forever. No collusion, no nothing. They've been finished. Finished them yesterday. The lawyers have them. I assume they'll turn them in today or soon.
Well, speaking of those lawyers, Rudy Giuliani saying it has been our position from the outset that much of what has been asked raised serious constitutional issues and was beyond the scope of a legitimate inquiry. This remains our position today. The president has nonetheless provided unprecedented cooperation. The president's team emphasized they provided more than 30 witnesses, 1.4 million pages of material, and now the president's written responses. Earlier this week, the president indicated it is unlikely he would sit down with Mueller's team for an in-person interview, Rob.
Okay, Leland, thank you so much. Just because the president submitted his answers to Bob Mueller and his team doesn't necessarily indicate an end to the special counsel's investigation, of course. Byron York, chief political correspondent at the Washington Examiner, says this can go one of two ways from here.
The thing we don't know is whether this is tying things up with a bow or opening up new areas of inquiry. I mean, Mueller could have follow-up questions. Some of the president's answers could raise issues that were not previously considered or that Mueller wants to go into. You know, Rudy Giuliani said in his statement that the White House had raised the issue of executive privilege over a lot of questions involving obstruction, all of which would, if it took place in the White House. So these questions apparently focused on what took place during the campaign. Was there any collusion? We know the president said 1 million times in public that there was no collusion. My guess is the answers are very similar to that. So the question is Mueller going to be satisfied by these questions and close up, or does it open up something new?
Well, neither the questions from Bob Mueller nor the answers President Trump gave the special counsel have been released to the public.
Acting Attorney General Matt Whitaker spending the day in New York City today. This morning, he'll speak to the Joint Terrorism Task Force and discuss national security efforts. After that, he will tour the mail distribution center at JFK International Airport and give remarks on ways to combat the nation's deadly opioid crisis.
Search crews are hoping forecasted rain for today will help end the Camp Fire in Northern California, but the rain also means a big risk of flooding and mudslides. The weather shift coming as we learn 82 people are now confirmed dead, 700 still unaccounted for. New video shows very brave pilots, look at this, risking their lives to the south in the Woolsey Fire near Malibu, using a helicopter to rescue 3 people and their dogs trapped in smoke. Interior Secretary Ryan Zinke, who toured the damage last week, now blames radical environmental groups for contributing to the fires by stopping forest management from doing their jobs properly. Zinke saying they, quote, would rather burn down the entire forest than cut a single tree, sounding a lot like the president there.
The Thanksgiving travel rush off to a good start with relatively few flight delays and cancellations. Of the 28,000 commercial flights in the U.S. every day, only about 4,000 flights have been delayed and just over 200 flights canceled since Tuesday.
But if you're headed somewhere cold for the holiday, sounds like everywhere's going to be cold, pack a hat and gloves. This Thanksgiving weekend could be the coldest on record.
Wow.
And that cold weather, really cold here in New York, could have a big impact on the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade right here in the city. The giant balloons are going to be blown up tonight. It's always a fun event, but strong winds could force them to stay grounded. And security will be tight during the inflation ceremony and tomorrow's parade. Thousands of federal and local officers will be on patrol. Explosive sniffing dogs will also be on hand for the very first time. Police say there are no credible threats to the parade, but just safety first. They blow them all up on the Upper West Side, and then they wait for the morning for the parade. But if it's really windy, those things will take off anywhere they want. So we'll see what happens. Yes, we will. It is 11 minutes after the hour. Border order blocked. President Trump firing back as an Obama-appointed judge opens the door to asylum seekers. The situation is all too familiar. Our next guest, a former judge, says this is a stall tactic, and he's calling out the media and the left. Stay tuned for that. Blocked his asylum order.
Every case that gets filed in the Ninth Circuit, we get beaten, and then we end up having to go to the Supreme Court. People should not be allowed to immediately run to this very friendly circuit and file their case. You probably remember we saw a similar showdown over the travel ban. So is this another case of the president's critics using the courts against him? Joining us now is the former GOP nominee for California Attorney General, retired Judge Stephen Bailey. Judge, thank you for coming on this morning. How political did this decision look to you?
It looks very political. It looks like the same type of activist judges that the president has had to deal with throughout the term of his presidency are back at work.
Is this a stall tactic?
It very much is a stall tactic. I think the Supreme Court came down with a definitive ruling in Trump versus Hawaii in June, where it outlined that the presidential power in the area of immigration is quite broad.
Let me read you a quote here, Judge. This is from Judge Teager, who gave the initial opinion and made this ruling. Asylum seekers will be put at increased risk of violence and other harms at the border. Many will be deprived of meritorious asylum claims. The government offers nothing in support of the new rule that outweighs the need to avoid these harms. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a judge, but it seems to me that this judge looked at one side of this case and in a way completely ignored how abused our asylum rules are being by all of these people coming here and claiming asylum, when I think logic would tell you that a lot of them aren't running from their countries.
Well, it's such a ridiculous statement to have somebody illegally enter the United States by jumping over a wall or, crossing our border illegally out in the desert. How does that not put those same people in jeopardy? What the president did in his executive order is established an orderly system for allowing people to apply for asylum in the United States. That orderly system is to come through one of our ports of entry. And if you do that, your claim gets processed. If you have a legitimate claim, you're going to be granted asylum in the United States. And unfortunately, many of these individuals have no claim.
And did the judge in this case, did he completely ignore the fact that most of these people are coming from Central America through an asylum country like Mexico, ignoring Mexico?
Right, they could stay there.
And then coming into the United States?
Yeah, that's what is so crazy about the whole system of asylum here, is that a country such as Mexico, which would grant these alleged refugees asylum, these refugees aren't even applying in Mexico. These are economic refugees. These aren't people that are political refugees.
Judge, thank you for your time this morning. We appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll see where this goes.
You.
It goes to the 9th District now. It goes to that 9th District and then maybe to the Supreme Court where it finally goes, right?
That's correct. 9th Circuit and then to the United States Supreme Court.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
It is 18 minutes after the hour. Forget helping average Americans. The liberal governor who just set aside $2 million to help immigrants facing deportation.
And a record number of people hitting the road and the skies this Thanksgiving. What you need to know as you gear up for a great escape to Grandma's house. Stay tuned.
Good morning to you and welcome back. It's here, the great getaway. Millions of Americans hitting the road and skies for Turkey Day.
The country is expected to see its highest travel volume in more than a dozen years. Lauren Blanchard tells us what you can expect.
This Thanksgiving travel period is expected to be the busiest in more than a decade. A record 54.3 million Americans will journey at least 50 miles, an increase of nearly 5% over last year. Most will travel by car. Analysts say low gas prices are to thank, along with a better economy. Airports will also be more crowded than usual.
We're ready for the holiday travel.
The holiday travel period is underway, and airports are already seeing a major uptick in traffic.
When I got here, I saw this line, I was really, worried to miss the flight.
And that volume is only expected to go up.
Understand how busy it's going to be, how crowded it's going to be. Give yourself a little extra time.
Tens of millions will take to the skies this Thanksgiving, and with some new rights. Lawmakers recently passed the FAA Reauthorization Act, including a ban on e-cigarettes on flights and prohibiting carriers from bumping passengers once they've cleared the gate. And if you think opting for the roads will save you time, well, think again. In some of the more congested cities, drivers could see trip times quadruple. Experts suggest driving on the lightest travel days, Thanksgiving Day, Friday, and Saturday, and expect to sit in traffic on Sunday. Anyone heading to the airport or hitting the roads is advised to allow plenty of extra time. In Washington, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
All right, a Fox Business Alert and major losses on Wall Street. It's been a rough month. The Dow Jones Industrial Average erasing its 2018 gains for the year after dropping more than 550 points Tuesday. Despite the decline, White House economic advisor Larry Kudlow says there is nothing to worry about.
Keep the faith. It's a very strong economy. I mean, I'm reading some of the weirdest stuff, how recession is around the corner. Nonsense. Recession is so far in the distance, I can't see it.
Tech stocks have been hit pretty hard, doing some serious damage to the NASDAQ. Kudlow claims the recent downturn is simply a market correction.
Well, Facebook won't see a leadership change anytime soon. CEO Mark Zuckerberg fighting off increasing calls for a staff shakeup amid a string of new scandals.
So you are not stepping down as chairman?
That's not the plan. I mean, like eventually over time. I mean, I'm not gonna be doing this forever. But I certainly I'm not currently thinking that makes sense.
Zuckerberg also praising his company's COO, Sheryl Sandberg. He says he hopes they'll continue to work together for decades to come.
And take a look at this. It's our first look at the next generation Marine One prototype. The new presidential helicopter landing on the White House lawn as it undergoes extensive testing.
The new Marine One is expected to be ready for deployment by the end of 2020. The entire order of 23 aircraft will reportedly cost over $5 billion.
Cool. Coming up, romaine recall, an urgent warning from the CDC that no lettuce is safe. What you need to know as you set the table for Thanksgiving.
And what do Beto O'Rourke and Barack Obama have in common? Find out what the former president thinks coming up. And as we head to break, we want to know what you are thankful for in the aisle.
We are with Saudi Arabia. We're staying with Saudi Arabia.
President Trump reiterated his stance on Saudi relations Tuesday afternoon on his way to Florida for the holiday. Just hours earlier, the president released a statement promising to remain a steadfast partner with Saudi Arabia, even though American intelligence reportedly has linked the country's royal family to the murder of Washington Post columnist Jamal Khashoggi. The president citing national security and economic security as major concerns.
I'm not going to destroy the world economy, and I'm not going to destroy the economy for our country by being foolish with Saudi Arabia.
It's a sentiment Secretary of State Mike Pompeo echoed Tuesday.
It's a mean, nasty world out there. By the way, this is a long, historic commitment and one that is absolutely vital to America's national security. We are determined to ensure that we continue to make sure that we take care of the American people.
But the president's siding with Saudi Arabia is already getting negative reviews from both sides of the aisle. Senator Bob Corker referring to the White House as a public relations firm for the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, and Senator Mark Warner calling the move a failure to hold Saudi Arabia responsible.
I think even his supporters wish he could probably find more of a middle ground to take more into account the human rights issues involved, at the same time still reaffirming the relationship between the U.S. and the Saudis.
And now the Senate Foreign Relations Committee is demanding that the White House take an official stance on whether or not Saudi Arabia's crown prince is responsible. In Washington, Kristen Fisher, Fox News.
A Fox News alert now. Iraq launching deadly airstrikes on ISIS in Syria. Fighter jets destroying 2 buildings, killing 40 terrorists. A mistrial. A split jury struggling to reach a verdict in Karina Vetrano's 2016 death. Her father found her body near their home in New York City. Prosecutors say her suspected killer, Chanel Lewis, will be retried. He's due back in court in January and will remain in custody. The commander on duty during the Parkland High School massacre in Florida calls it quits. Broward Sheriff's Office Captain Jan Jordan says she is resigning for personal reasons. She allegedly told first responders to stage outside Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School instead of rushing in to save lives. 17 people were killed in the February massacre. President Trump hinting he might attend next year's White House Correspondents' Dinner for the first time. The president tweeting overnight, quote, so-called comedian Michelle Wolf bombed so badly last year at the White House Correspondents' Dinner that this year, for the first time in decades, they will have an author instead of a comedian. Good first step in comeback of a dying evening and tradition. Maybe I will go? Historian Ron Chernow will speak at the event in April, so stay tuned for that.
Oh, if the president goes, we got to go back, Jillian. That's a no-brainer. All right. Come January, Democrats will control the House, and with several major agenda items on the line, our next guest says this could actually be a good thing for the president's agenda. That's right. Joining us now to explain how is author of The Republican Workers' Party, How the Trump Victory Drove Everyone Crazy and Why It Was Just What We Needed, F.H. Buckley. Mr. Buckley, thanks for coming on this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Explain how, because it's counterintuitive to think that Democrats in control of the House would be a good thing for the president.
Well, I tell you what, people say, right now we have divided government. We've had divided government for the last couple of years. We've had a presidential Republican Party and we've had a congressional Republican Party, and they're not the same thing. I mean, the point about Trump is he ran a different kind of campaign, obviously. He found the sweet spot in American politics, which was culturally conservative, but economically middle of the road on a whole bunch of things. And that opens up the door to the possibility of deals worked through with the Dems. I mean, they've got a choice right now. They can either jump off the cliff on impeachment or they can try to deal.
But I'm trying to figure out, how is it a better situation for the president than having both houses of Congress?
Well, not having Paul Ryan around is definitely a plus. Okay. And I don't know if they're going to want to deal, but I mean, look, the elements of deals are right staring you in the face. I mean, there are a whole bunch of things you can do. I mean, I'll give you one, for instance, right now, and that is draining the swamp, right? Big ticket item for President Trump. Okay.
People love that message, yeah.
They love the message. Okay, well, I'll tell you something you could do. You could do stuff on campaign finance reform, specifically lobbying reform, right? Lobbyists right now are able to do a whole bunch of things to get the ear of legislators, and some of that stuff is really improper, and we should not permit it. No, there's a deal right there.
Yeah. I read your column. You say that you don't think that Trump should do what Obama did, which is resort to executive orders to get things done. You also pointed to the Clinton and Newt Gingrich years when they got a lot done together, and that was a pretty good working relationship. But I also think, President Clinton and Newt Gingrich were a lot more similar than Nancy Pelosi and Donald Trump. Everything's very divided right now.
Absolutely right. I don't know about Pelosi. I mean, Trump has held out an olive branch, right? We'll see if she picks it up. And she's got a whole bunch of crazies in her party. I mean, it's not the Democratic Party of back when.
Right.
But, why not? I mean, let's see if she's willing to deal. As I say, I mean, a whole bunch of things, healthcare and...
Yeah, and what about a middle-class tax cut? You say that that's one of the things that you could see actually come into fruition.
Well, that looks a little less likely now than it did a couple of weeks back. But the point is, our tax code remains a mess. There are things that Trump wanted he didn't get. He got something huge in terms of the corporate tax rate. But there's no reason our tax code has to be as long as it is. And the reason why it's long is it's got all these little perks and boondoggles for people. That's the kind of stuff we'd want to get rid of. We could make things a lot simpler. And that's something Republicans have always said they want to do, simplify the tax code.
Okay. F.H. Buckley, very interesting column. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you.
All right. 36 minutes after the hour, he said only death could stop him from serving a full term as New York's governor. But is Andrew Cuomo now eyeing a 2020 presidential run? The new report that has speculation swirling.
Even though peas and carrots have received a presidential pardon, House Democrats are likely to issue them both subpoenas.
Presidential pardons for our poultry friends, peas and carrots. Carly Shimkus here with more of the president's jokes at this annual Thanksgiving tradition. All right, now that the midterms are over, Democrats are gearing up for the 2020 race for the White House. Potential presidential contenders, so many of them, recruiting top staffers in Iowa, where the first caucus will take place. According to the Associated Press, Senators Cory Booker and Kamala Harris are among the many politicians now exploring their options. There could be like 30 or 40 Democrats running for president. How funny is that?
And one potential 2020 contender is getting the stamp of approval from a former president. Barack Obama says Texas Democrat Beto O'Rourke is an impressive young man who reminds him of himself.
It felt as if he based his statements and his positions on what he believed. The reason I was able to make a connection with a sizable portion of the country was people had a sense that I said what I meant.
O'Rourke lost to Republican Senator Ted Cruz in the midterms. He hasn't announced any plans to run for president.
right, forget helping the average American. $2 million of your hard-earned money is going to help in a fund for illegal immigrants who are facing deportation.
Carly Shimkus with Fox News Headlines 24/7 Sirius XM 115 here with reaction to the announcement from liberal New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy. Hi, Carly.
Yeah, hey, good morning, guys. So the governor announced the plan just hours before a federal judge barred the Trump administration from denying asylum to anyone who crosses the border illegally. Governor Murphy saying families who came to New Jersey for a better life do not deserve to be torn apart by the federal government's cruel and discriminatory policies. But some residents feel that money should go to them. Amber on Facebook says, I didn't realize the state had an extra $2 million to set aside. Probably could spend it on homeless veterans or something. And Tom on Facebook also chiming in saying, how about helping the New Jersey residents that are actually U.S. citizens get the help they are looking for? So the great illegal immigration debate, guys, continues.
In New Jersey. All right. Andrew Cuomo, right next door in New York, the governor, might be eyeing 2020. One of many people.
That's right. There was a report that certainly said that he was potentially eyeing a 2020 run, and he's talking to Democrats in the early voting state of Iowa, which is always a key indicator. And that report sparked a whole lot of commentary online, and not all of it kind to Cuomo. One Twitter user says, does anyone want Cuomo to run besides Cuomo? Well, guess what, guys? He is now denying that report. He said in a statement that it's a conspiracy theory. I'm going to stick with New York State. It's a dark conspiracy theory of someone trying to undermine. There's no truth to it. So he says he's staying in New York. He has no plans on going to the White House. But some people don't believe him. A lot of politicians say that, right?
That's right.
Interesting. Okay, so who knew that turkeys could potentially be issued a subpoena?
I know, very serious stuff, right? So President Trump pardoned a turkey named Peas yesterday. Peas was the winner of the turkey pardoning poll. And while he did that, he also made a joke about Democrats in the process. Take a look.
The winner of this vote was decided by a fair and open election. Carrots refused to concede and demanded a recount. Even though Peas and Carrots have received a presidential pardon, I have warned them that House Democrats are likely to issue them both subpoenas.
Picking up those dad jokes right where President Obama left them, right?
It's so funny.
I know, it is great. President Trump also saying that Peas was the most beautiful turkey he's ever seen in his life.
Oh,
very high praise from the president.
No, Peas and Carrots will be just fine.
They will be. They'll be in Virginia at a farm, living out their best lives.
Love it.
All right. Carly, thanks so much.
Thanks, guys.
43 minutes after the hour. If you're afraid of talk around the Thanksgiving table turning into a war, up next, we've got some tips for talking politics. Stay tuned.
Look at this. A tofu turkey?
Yeah. Looks good, huh?
I would rather eat that page.
And if you thought the tofu turkey was alert, a college student is dead from the same virus that killed 11 kids at a New Jersey medical center. Olivia Paragould reportedly caught the adenovirus at the University of Maryland. Her father thinks Olivia's illness was worsened by mold problems in the dorms. The university is denying that claim. 5 additional students have been diagnosed with the virus, which has symptoms similar to a cold.
Sad story there, and a warning before you start cooking your Thanksgiving feast. Romaine lettuce is not safe to eat right now because of a major E. coli outbreak. According to the CDC, at least 32 people in 11 states have gotten sick. Officials say if you have romaine lettuce in your fridge, throw it away. Luckily, it's not really a big part of Thanksgiving.
Apple's in talks.
It's not really. I mean,
there's a delayed reaction.
Salad in there, yeah.
Apple is in talks to improve medical care for our nation's heroes.
Tracy Carrasco from our sister network Fox Business here with more on the possible partnership. Hey, Tracy.
Good morning. Yes, the Wall Street Journal reports that Apple is in talks with the Department of Veterans Affairs to provide electronic health records to military veterans to make them portable, easier for their hospital and medical visits. Apple would reportedly likely create some sort of special software tool that would allow them to transfer these documents to iPhones, make them easier to carry around. And Apple just announced back in January that it was kind of getting into the medical industry with this type of feature, allowing people to keep those documents with their iPhone. So hopefully this is something that they will move forward with, because I think it would be really helpful to a lot of these veterans.
Yeah, absolutely. What else we got this morning? Something about getting your wallets ready?
Yes, Black Friday. If you haven't heard, it's coming up. So whether you are shopping online or in stores, you've got to get your Black Friday shopping strategy ready. So there are a number of stores, of course, offering deals both online and in stores. Some of those stores with some really good deals: Amazon, Nordstrom, Walmart, Best Buy, Target, Macy's, Kohl's. If you have any smart home products on your list, Amazon is going to be your go-to. They are matching a lot of their prices for their Echo devices to their Prime Day. Walmart, you can shop online starting today to get some of those deals. Of course, stores open up tomorrow at 6 p.m. And then some stores, they only offer deals when you go into the store. A lot of the department stores, Macy's, you've actually got to go in to get those Black Friday deals. So whichever way you choose, there are a lot of ways to save.
All right. Love it. Thanks, Tracy.
Thanks.
All right, it's that time of the year when families come together to share Thanksgiving dinner around the dinner table.
But what happens if the turkey also comes with a side of hot-button political debate?
Here to help us navigate the table talk is etiquette expert Lisa Gratz. Lisa, thanks for coming on. I've got a very politically divided family. We don't allow weapons at the table. What should we do?
We don't allow weapons either, but one of the best things to do for Thanksgiving is to just keep politics and religion out of the discussion, and here's why. We can never, ever disagree on this. I mean, the midterm elections aren't even over yet, and people are still talking about it. It's impossible not to, but try to keep things light. The meal is heavy enough, and all the carbs and the tryptophan we're going to be having. So keep the political discussion out of it, because no one will ever agree on anything.
And now some people say, Lisa, that it's, healthy to have those conversations with people who don't always agree with your opinion. But I guess you can have that any other day with your family besides the holiday.
Yeah, that's true. But I would say, as host, it's sort of up to you to move the conversation in the direction that you want it. If things are going south, and there is, Uncle Johnny who's too contentious, then bring it back to the obvious, such as the food, the football, and how many pieces of pie we're going to have for dessert. It's easy on
Uncle
Thanksgiving.
Johnny. Wow, you're just blaming it right on Uncle Johnny. So we're interested in this poll because 59% of people who were polled say talking politics at family get-togethers, that they are okay with it. Now, 40% try and avoid it. Are you surprised that number's that high, about 59% okay with talking politics?
Not really. I mean, it's really impossible in this day and age not to talk politics. I mean, there's not a day goes by that I don't. But one day a year, it would be nice to remain as neutral as Switzerland. Here are my pearls of wisdom for the day. We should all try to act like diplomats and just be neutral and try to be nice and mix well with our guests and all of our company and get through the day. And we're here to count our blessings, really not count how many votes still are uncounted in, certain states. So, I mean, you can talk about it if you know you're around like company. It's just always the one or two people that kind of draw things to the negative side, and that's what we want to avoid.
She made a good point, just to chime in here, because yesterday we had Janice talking about the op-ed that she wrote for FoxNews.com, talking about all the things that she's thankful for. And it's a good time to maybe pause with all of your family members and have everybody maybe say something they're thankful for, or something they're thankful for their family, say something nice about each other.
Well, I'm glad you brought this up, because at our table, this is how we keep things light when they start going dark. We give out turkey tickets to everyone, and everyone has a guest question they can ask, either something that they're thankful for, or this year, I already know what mine's going to be. If I could eat anything in the Thanksgiving menu for the whole year, what would it be?
Ooh.
That's just light and fun. But I'm from California, and of course, we have terrible wildfires going on, so we are going to give thanks for all of those on the front line and all of those who have lost their lives, and they're definitely going to be with us on Thanksgiving Day.
Absolutely.
That's true. And if you really want to avoid the conversation, you can do what I do, which is order a pizza and spend Thanksgiving by yourself.
It's terrible.
Lisa,
Or with a football
I got to
game.
work on Friday. What do you expect? Lisa, thank you so much for your time this morning. We do appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Very uplifting.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.
Always right.
It is time for the good, the bad, and the ugly. Let's start with the good. Instead of handing out tickets, sheriff's deputies in Georgia
By selling some pretty hilarious passive-aggressive lunch bags. This one says, let's pretend it's Chipotle. It initially started as a way for the California mom to relieve the stress of being a parent. This is kind of funny.
And finally, the ugly. Tofurkey reaches a major milestone right before Thanksgiving.
Look at this. A tofu turkey?
Yeah. Looks good, huh?
I would rather eat that page.
The plant-based turkey alternative brand Tofurkey selling its 5 millionth roast. The blend of tofu and wheat was created in the 1980s. Why is that the ugly, though?
Because that's ugly.
Says a non-vegetarian.
The tofu eater thinks it's a great idea. All right, 55 minutes after the hour, Democrats in disarray with dozens of potential candidates throwing their name in the 2020 ring.
Got to critically re-examine ICE and its role.
Please get up in the face of some Congress people.
When they go low, we kick them.
So here's a question. Do Democrats need somebody that they don't want in order to win in 2020? We debate that.
And these drivers thought they were getting a ticket, but officers had something else in store. Find out when Fox and Friends First continues at the top of the hour. Stay right there.